welcome back to my conversation with Tanya. In this part, we dive into the best hikes in Switzerland 2025 for different types of people, skill sets, season, and group size. Enjoy. I have to talk to you about hikes because that's probably the main reason people are going to start listening to this. Best hikes. And I think the most useful thing, at least for me personally, and I have a few different questions and a few different scenarios where I would love to get your input on the best hikes. But I would love to start with the best hikes for visiting family members. So you're living in Switzerland and you have visiting family from abroad. It doesn't matter where they're from. They don't know how to hike. Not really, but they want to hike. And say, for example, the big ticket items, Zermatt or Jungfrau, it's a bit too expensive because it is really expensive, but they still want the Alpine. And say you're based in Zurich and it's mum and dad. Mum and dad are, let's say, between 50 and 65. What advice can you give on where to hike?
Well, I'm an expert on this.
You are an expert, I believe it.
I actually have a post exactly, and it's like where to take grandpa when he comes, because, my dad comes twice a year and this is exactly what I do with him. I've got a huge catalog of things, and now that he's getting older and, then it's getting smaller and smaller what he can do. From Zurich, one of my favorites is Chäserrugg. This is over by Toggenburg. And you take a funicular train and then a cable car up, and it's to these cliffs that overlook the Wallensee. And so it's just lots of drama. You've done nothing. You've only rented a cable car up. There's a restaurant there. And then it has this pretty easy wander that's around this high alpine plain up there. And it's enough of a hike that you feel like, oh, I'm hiking, but it's short. And it's also on like a proper footpath, not a, like some of the easiest hikes would be on a service road or something that's really smooth, which in some cases that's really appropriate, especially for anyone that's older that has mobility issues, or if you have to bring very small children or a stroller. But, that's a separate topic. If you want to have kind of hike-ish, this would be a really good choice. If you want something that's more, well, kind of along the same lines, but the Stoos Panorama Trail is great too, because you can ride the steepest funicular in the world, or whatever they want to say, the world record breaking, up to the Alpine Village. I was just there this weekend. It's a crowd pleaser. Everyone loves it. Then you can ride the chairlift all the way up to the viewpoint, and then there's just a short wander along the cliffs. So again, you still kind of feel like you're on a hike and you're out in nature, and you're having a most amazing view, but almost no effort. Now, I don't know. I mean, there's like so many ways. I have like a whole post that's just on beginner trails that are like this, but those are two of my go-tos for lots of drama without too much work. And then you kind of feel like you're hiking.
And I'll certainly link all of these in the show notes. But just to clarify, these are also ones which are easily accessible without a car?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, almost everything in Switzerland you can get to. The question is, how long is it going to take you? So I do have another post that's the best hikes from Zurich with public transportation, because this is also a big theme. You want to not have to go 3 hours. Like if you're going from, these are from Zurich in particular, because a lot of the people that follow me are living in Zurich. And also you want to have minimal transfers, especially with kids, because every transfer you have, if you have to transfer 2 times on the train and then a bus, it's just everything becomes super complicated. So yeah, I have a post that's all about that. But yeah, these ones are pretty good. I mean, Stoos is actually one of the easiest ones to get to, because you take one train and one bus. It takes about an hour and 20 minutes from Zurich. It's not that bad. It's also really popular, but not only because it's amazing, but also because it's pretty easy to access.
Now, the next one would be hikes for tourists. Now, that's a very broad request for suggestions, so I wanted to put a couple of filters on that. So you're a tourist coming here, but you're also a tourist that is not interested in being surrounded by other tourists. So it is this balance of you've got a bit of hiking experience, you're looking forward to the mountains, you need to be able to navigate Switzerland easily enough, and you don't want to go to the top 5 hikes when you Google top 5 hikes in Switzerland. What can you recommend?
Yeah, I would say it depends.
Of course.
I mean, a big question, of course, and this is what I do in my travel consults, is like, how long do you want to be on the trail? How difficult of a trail? Do you want to be on the trail for 2 hours, 5 hours? Do you want to, like, what's your maximum elevation? A lot of these things play into which trail I would choose. But I would say for your average tourist, that I think most of the tourists that I talk to, they want to be on the trail about 2 hours. Like, they just want to be out. They don't mind a little elevation, but they don't want to be climbing a whole mountain. And they do want to escape the crowds. So I'm going to give you a couple examples from the popular regions, because most of the tourists are going to the same places. So they're not going to stay in, some random place that I would hike in. I mean, I would say most of the hikes I do, I hardly see anyone, but it's because I'm going to places that tourists don't want to go to. I mean, so for example, Zermatt, all the tourists want to go to Zermatt. And if you're going to go there, then everyone's going to go to the Gornergrat and go to the viewpoint. They're all going to go to the Riffelsee Lake, but a very small percentage of those people are going to continue hiking from the lake down the mountain to, say, Riffelalp or Riffelberg. Most of the tourists that are going are either part of a tour group, or they're just going to the viewpoint and then they're riding back down the mountain. They might only be in Zermatt for 1 day, so they're just trying to cram all that in. And I find that literally 1 meter on the trail, you lose 99% of the people. And then people spread out naturally on the trail anyway, even if there's some others. So that would be my top pick in Zermatt, is to either, well, you could do both, from Gornergrat hike down to the Riffelsee. That's also gorgeous, and you get to spend more time with the glacier view. Most people are riding the train down, and then from the Riffelsee Lake, then keep hiking down to Riffelberg would be my first choice. You get to have the Matterhorn in view most of the time. You get to see the longhorned sheep that are hiding in the little crevices there. And it's just really, it's actually this trail that's in my background here that I'm describing. Now, if you're in the Jungfrau region, everyone wants to go to Grunewald Fierst, which has the cliff walk and all those zip lines and other activities. So it's a total madhouse right there. And then a lot of those people are going to hike up to the Bachalpsee, which is really lovely. But no one turns the other direction and hikes on the Marmot Trail, which I did last summer. I saw probably 10 people for the next 2.5 hours, and it was absolutely gorgeous. So if you just do, even in the popular areas, because I don't think you should miss the cliff walk. It's really spectacular. I just took my dad there for the first time this summer, and he was like, this is amazing. I can't believe in 20 years, why didn't you take me here? I'm like, I don't know. It's just like popular, and we had other places to go. And he said, I'm just so glad I got to see this. So definitely see it. But taking a B-side trail doesn't mean that it's B-side views. It's just something that's just not been promoted. In the Luzern area, again, Mount Rigi is super popular with tourists, but most people are just going up to the viewpoint. If you hike the Rigi Panorama Trail, hardly anyone's doing that trail, and you get to spend a lot more time with the lake views. So you still get to do the tourist thing, but you get to have a lot of solitude for the next couple hours. So those are just choices that are all kind of near the places that tourists want to be, but a little bit off of the beaten path.
Not bad, not bad. And what about if you go east, go over to Graubünden or St. Gallen?
Yeah, so if you want to go over to Appenzell, so everyone wants to go to the Escher Cliff Restaurant, so everyone wants to see that. I am no longer recommending the trail that goes from there down to the Seelzee, because people keep dying on that trail.
Really?
Yeah. So I think it was 2 years ago, 5 people died in one season, including a mom and a 5-year-old. It's just absolutely terrible. And then this year, another person died on that trail. So I think that they need to secure the trail in some way. I mean, it's very controversial. So that's a no. Don't do that one. Now I'm telling everyone, just walk up from the valley to get to the Seelzee, which was really nice. Okay, but let's say you just want to avoid that altogether, but you also want to see the Alpstein, which is the really beautiful part. I mean, this is the whole mountain range, the Alpstein. It has Santis, it has the Saxoluca, it has all these really beautiful mountains. I mean, there's other trails you can do here. I mean, a lot of them are quite popular, like the Saxoluca Trail is really nice, but it's not nearly as popular as some of these ones in the Jungfrau region. I would still do that one. I think Kronberg is underrated. So this is a trail that's on the, I guess, don't know my directions, but maybe north side of the Alpstein. So you're looking right at Santis and the whole mountain range. It has a whole family fun area at the valley. So like a ropes course, coaster, like all the things that families would want. But you can ride the cable car up and do this. It's called the Alpine Panorama Trail. Gorgeous views. Not that many people are on it. I mean, tourists aren't going there. And I mean, it's not way high up in the mountains, but it's so beautiful. And you get the rolling hills of Appenzell and the Alpstein in view. I think it's amazing. Graubünden, I mean, there's so many places to go. Just last week, I was in Flims, and I went up to the Segnesboden, and it's like one of my favorite places in all of Switzerland. It's so special. It's this high alpine river plain, and they've built a new cable car. So it used to be quite long to have to hike to get there. And now you can ride the cable car. It's only 15 minutes to walk out to the waterfall. I'm having to rewrite all my posts because all my posts were written from when they didn't have this cable car. So I'm like furiously rewriting my posts. But it's amazing because it makes it so accessible. And it's such a special place. It's like a UNESCO protected nature reserve. And it's very delicate. So they have to be a little careful about how now it's more accessible to get to have people treat it respectfully. But I think this is kind of hidden gem, go now before it gets super popular. This one's absolutely gorgeous.
That was a nice transition into my follow-up question, which is hidden gems. So let's say if you are living in Switzerland and you do know how to hike and you've already been to the top ones, which you would generally recommend for a tourist, and maybe you're skeptical of suggesting hidden gems because they're hidden for a reason, but are there any in particular which you think would be really nice to share for people which they may not know about and they are already hiking enthusiasts?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's, I don't want to give away all my secrets. And, everything that I'll mention here is already on the blog. So it's available. And I think one nice thing about it being on the blog is that there's 1,000 posts. So it's all there if you're looking for it. But it's not like I'm shining a light super bright on one, so it gets overdone because I definitely don't want my places to be ruined. So, yeah. So which ones will I reveal on the podcast? I mean, okay, this is maybe not a super hidden gem, but I think it's one. This is one that I've been recommending a lot because I keep hearing people thinking they want to do the harder grot, the really dangerous one. And I don't want people to do that. This is the ridge that's above the Lake Brienz. It's like known as one of the most dangerous trails in the world. And there's lots of YouTube videos on, so people think that they can do it. It's not a good idea. It's very dangerous.
Just interest. I'm curious on that before we go on. There's YouTube videos. Are these Swiss people or non-Swiss people?
Some are the Swiss people that I've seen that have done videos. They're more thoughtful, and I appreciate it. What I don't like, there's one. It really makes me so angry. They're like, we just got off the plane. We don't even have hiking shoes. We have no water. We're gonna get on this trail, and it's fine. You can do whatever you want with your own life, but when you're putting it on a YouTube video and making it look like, hey, it's an exciting adventure. If you just want to do it, you can do it too. I think that's just really irresponsible. And I know someone who died on that trail. I mean, not like a personal friend, but a colleagues of mine. And it's just, you need to respect the mountains. It's like it's like the river or the ocean. And these are natural places that have dangers, and you just need to be respectful of it. Anyway, my point is, in this same area, the Brienz Rothorn Ridge Trail is amazing. It's a well-defined trail. It's rated red-white. It's maintained by the region, and it's not, it still has its dangers, but it's a proper trail. And I just did a section of it, 2 weeks ago, like a different version than I had done before. And I was just convinced again how spectacular it is. And it's a little, one reason a lot of people don't do it is because it's usually a one-way trail. So it's maybe just a little complicated. You have to park your car one place, take a train, then a mountain train. There's all these logistics to make it happen. I did it as a loop last week, which I haven't written on the blog yet, but I will do so you could just go one place and not have to do this one-way business. But the views from this ridge are just some of the best in Switzerland. And it's not like there's no one on this trail, but it's not like you're running into a bunch of tourists. They're all Swiss people. It's the only Swiss that you're hearing. And, you'll see all the like 80-year-old Swiss people out there that are way faster than you and, much better shape. And I just find that really inspiring. I'm like, I want to be doing that when I'm also that age, hopefully. And it feels like, even though it's quite close to Interlaken and it's not like way out in Graubünden, away from the tourist region, but it just feels very Swiss to me. And I think that would be, for drama, that would be my top pick. If you want to be away from people, like you don't want to see anyone on the trail all day, but not have to go too far away, the Surenen Pass is really one of my favorites. So this is part of the Via Alpina, so it's not completely unknown. The Via Alpina is this long distance trail that cuts across the entire Switzerland. I can't remember which stage exactly this is, but it goes from Altdorf, which is at the very end of Lake Luzern, like the south end. I shortcut it with a cable car to start this trail, and then you go up and over the Surenen Pass and end up in Engelberg. And it's just, I did it by myself one time, and I mean, I saw 5 people, I was on the trail for like 6 hours, and it was gorgeous. I had Rega on my phone just in case there were any problems, and I had to be helicopter rescued. But you have all the drama of these really gorgeous spiky peaks. There's alpine meadows, there's waterfalls, there's rivers. And even though you're quite close to civilization, because you're going over a mountain pass, you just feel very remote. And it's doable as a day hike. You don't have to commit to staying overnight in a hut, but there are huts available on either end if you wanted to, do that. So I think that was really, really nice. Another one I really enjoy is the Unterschäfen Valley. It's also kind of in the same, we've been doing a lot in this area. It's this valley. A lot of people know it because of the Stäuben waterfalls, and they're in this valley as well. But there's a bunch of small cable cars that service this valley. So the cable cars carry like 4 to 8 people.
What's the nearest village to this valley? Just to help with navigation.
Like Flüelen and Altdorf, and there's a bunch of, it's like near the Clausen Pass. So the Clausen Pass is at the highest point of this valley, and then it goes all the way down to Altdorf. And so there's a bunch of little villages along the way, and each of them have their own little cable car that bring you up the mountain. And so we've been doing little day hikes exploring the area in there. So they're kind of slowly making their way onto the website. So if you're a super fan, you'll find those soon. But I think that whole area still has so much for me to explore as well. And I think after 20 years, and I hike all the time, to still feel like there's valleys where I have no idea what's happening in corners of them. I think that's really exciting. So, the great thing about Switzerland is you can go to any one of these cable cars, get the free map from the bottom, and just pick one of the trails that's on the map, and you're going to be fine. The signs are great. But I think this is also something that's really difficult for tourists. Like, if you know how Switzerland works, you understand how to use the public transportation, you speak at least a little German, kind of can have had some mistakes along the way, how to get into a self-service cable car and call the guy and tell him you want him to have you come up the mountain, these sort of things. When you know those things, you can really explore Switzerland in a different way than a tourist who literally has no idea how to even get on the train. They're like, do I show my ticket to somebody? Well, I don't even know what I'm doing. So that's why it's really hard to tell tourists about hidden gems, because they just don't have the skills to make it work.
No, totally.
That makes sense. Yeah.
What about, and this is something that I personally would love to do more of, but never really spent the time figuring out how, which is hiking in winter. Now, like a snowy hike where, look, this is not glacier hiking. I'm not going to get special equipment, but perhaps some snowshoes. So of course, otherwise you're going to have to avoid the snow altogether. Have you done I kind of know the answer to this, but I'll ask it anyway. Have you done a lot of research in the best winter hikes?
Yeah, we have a lot of winter hikes and snowshoe hikes on the blog now. We really started in earnest in during COVID because when the cable cars were closed, or people didn't really want to be in around other people. We bought snowshoes so we could do other things, and we ended up really enjoying it. And it's also great when the snow is bad quality. So we've also had some pretty bad winters lately where the snow is icy or doesn't snow for
Mm.
a long time. That's a great time to go snowshoeing because you're not having the big fluffy snow, but it's actually really hard to hike in big fluffy snow. The main benefit of having snowshoes is that you can walk on trails that haven't been prepared by a machine. So even if it's been tamped down, it just means you can explore a beautiful area, and especially away from the ski resorts. That's what I find the most exciting, is that a lot of the prepared winter trails, which I still like, are obviously close to the ski resort because they use machines to groom the trail.
Mm.
When you have a snowshoe, that means you don't have to be near a ski resort because you're going away and it's very quiet. And yeah, so we've been doing a lot of these. I'm just looking at my list here to see some of my favorite that we've done. Of so many good ones. Oh, one that we keep doing is in Elm. You don't even have to use a cable car for this one. You just drive to the end of the valley and then you hike up to a ski hut. And it's a hut where people will do ski touring. So they'll go even higher up the mountain, then ski back down to this hut. And we'll just do a loop there. And it's just so quiet back in the valley. It's basically free, just your cost to get there, whether you're driving or taking the bus. And yeah, well, I think we did it twice last winter. It's just
And for
so
those
nice.
who don't have a map of Switzerland in their head, Elm is where from Zurich?
Yeah, it's southeast, so it's in the Glarnerland region. And I don't know if I can provide anything more specific that would even be helpful.
Mm.
It takes about an hour, 15 minutes to drive there from
Mhm.
Zurich, about an hour 45 if you go by public transportation.
My last request in terms of tips for hiking would be hiking on a budget. And this one especially because it is really expensive to use public transport if you're coming to, especially with the Swiss franc just dominating every other currency, and them tourists not having the luxury of a hub tax. If people are wanting to get this experience, let's go back to summertime now, but are concerned about money, what are some tips which they can keep in mind?
Yeah, so I mean, if we're talking about tourists, there's two main costs that I think that are really expensive. I mean, I think the hotels and other things are kind of in line. I don't think that those things are so much more expensive than in other European countries. But I think the dining out is very expensive here, and it's not usually good value. It's just expensive. So I think and then the cable cars and public transportation. So all these are three things that are really going to suck your budget. I would say first, try and picnic as much as possible so you can spend your budget in other places. So just don't dine out as much. I think you can avoid the cable cars sometimes, but I think the cable cars are actually what makes Switzerland quite special. I mean, I grew up in California, and if you hike, you got to hike up the whole mountain. And here, the mountains are super accessible, and you don't have to spend 2 hours hiking through the forest up a mountain to get to the good views.
The
You
good
can just
stuff.
skip the boring,
Yeah.
skip the boring part. And so, yeah, it is expensive, but it's also worth it. I think there's ones that are really expensive, and I would say just don't do those ones. I mean, I don't think for most travelers they need to do the Jungfrau or a lot of these expensive cable cars that are more than 70 or 80 francs. I think that's just not really necessary. But a lot of tourists do them because they're the only ones they've heard of. Now, if you want to minimize, there's a lot of ways to minimize those costs of the cable cars. I mean, for tourists, there is a short-term half-fare card. So I think that is usually the best value for most tourists is it costs $120 per adult. Next year, unfortunately, it's going up to $150. So enjoy it while you can. But that gives you 50% off public transportation and the mountain transport. The other option is the Swiss Travel Pass. It's much more expensive, so somewhere around like $419 for 8 days, covering free public transportation. I mean, it's not free, you pay for it, but included public transportation and then 50% off the mountains. Now, it's a lot of money to put out up front, but I would say that 95% of the people that I talk to on a travel consult, they get the Swiss Travel Pass because it adds convenience. You don't have to buy individual tickets. You don't have to know what the names of the bus stop are, the things. You just get on the train and it's always good. So a lot of people are willing to pay for that convenience. If you get that pass, then you just should start maximizing it. So the longer you can come to Switzerland, the better, because then your per day cost becomes much lower. If you're here for 3 days, Swiss Travel Pass doesn't gain you much. If you're here for 15 days, it's amazing. Your per day cost goes down to like $30. So, it's really, you get a lot of value. And then there's a lot of things that are free with the Swiss Travel Pass. So instead of always going up a mountain cable car, you could use the Swiss Travel Pass to get to places that are free with that and then hike from there. So going up to a mountain pass on a bus, going on mountains that are free, like Rigi, that's completely free with the Swiss Travel Pass. You don't have to pay anything extra. Surenen is totally free with the Swiss Travel Pass. So there's a lot of ways you can maximize that. If you want to, I don't know, just try and think, there's also regional passes, but I think in general, like the Jungfrau Travel Pass, the Surenen Pass, these are kind of all-inclusive for the regions, but they really don't make sense unless you stay in the region more than 10 days, if you really do the math. So I would say if budget is the biggest concern, Swiss half fare card is almost always, when you do the calculations, you'll be spending less money, but you will have to manage how many times you go up cable cars and try and pick ones that are less expensive. Now, the good news for families is when you get either of those passes, Swiss half fare card or Swiss Travel Pass, all your children under 15 are free. And that means that you pay for those passes almost immediately, like 1 or 2 outings, and you've already paid for the whole value. If you have 3 kids under 15, it's like they're paying you to do it. So I think for families, they make it really, really attractive. I hope they continue to do that. I mean, I haven't heard anything different, but I think it's just an amazing value. So I would say it's expensive, but as I said before, I think it's still worth it. And you just have to make smart choices. I think a lot of people are swayed by Instagram and, other things being famous, and they want to do them because their friends have been there. They want to say they've been there. And what I always tell people is every single mountain that you visit is going to be amazing. There's literally nowhere you're going to go where you're like, I really wish I was somewhere else. This isn't as pretty. That never happens. I still think it. I'll go out, I'll make a whole plan, and I'll think this one's stupid, but I've done everything else. We're just going to try it. And I get there and I have a bad attitude, and 5 minutes on the trail, I'm like, this is the best trail I've ever done. I can't believe it. And it happens to me so often. I should just really learn my lesson, but it's true. Switzerland is it's truly trying hard to make you love it.
That is a great piece of information as well. I also give that information the same thing, where there really isn't a wrong answer when he's going for a hike. One final question for you for valuable information for listeners regarding hiking is some preparation, essential preparation to maximize your trip and to be safe. Because, we touched on it already, Switzerland does seem to be a country where they put the responsibility on the individual when it comes to safety, which I guess in most cases I think is a good thing. What are some things that people should really be aware of or should do that maybe they haven't thought of before going for a hike if they're not so experienced?
Yeah. So the first thing that I would do is always check the weather. I think that's maybe not something, depending on where you're coming from, maybe it's always sunny where you are, or maybe you're not doing so many outdoor activities, so you just don't think about the weather very much. That's like the only thing I think about in Switzerland. I'm checking the weather all day, every day. It's really, really important to know what the weather's going to be like and to prepare for the weather, and to also be prepared to make a choice to not go on a trail because the weather's coming in. Like, don't just think, okay, well, this is the day we plan to do this hike and we have to do it, because some trails can be dangerous. Like, you don't want to be on the Stoos Ridge Trail when it's raining. It's too dangerous. You don't want to be on the top of a ridge when there's lightning. There's just, you need to know what the weather is going to be like. And also you really need to bring layers. So this is the question I get in every single travel consult call. What should I pack? do I pick summer clothes or winter clothes? And I say, pack both, because you never know what is going to happen. Probably most of the days you're going to wear shorts and t-shirts, but a storm comes in like it did this week, and you're going to be putting on all of your layers. I was just on, when I was in Flem's on Monday, it snowed in the mountains of above about 2,100 meters, absolutely covered, like 3 centimeters. And I was up there and I was in a full snowstorm because I went to just go check it out to see if I could go hiking the next day. And within like 15 minutes, I was absolutely covered. And this is the middle of July. So, and just like 3 days earlier, it was 34 degrees and I was, swimming in the lake, and it was very, very hot. So it can be all over the place. And I think that sometimes I see people out there, it's cold and they're wearing shorts. I mean, like families, there's some people that are hikers and they're going to wear what they're going to wear. But I can see people that are just in clothing that's not really appropriate to weather. And I'm guessing it's because they didn't pack the appropriate clothing. I would say also the main thing is shoes. I think this is really hard when you're packing, especially if you want to bring a smaller bag, is that people don't want to bring hiking shoes. And I get it, but I think it's really a mistake if you're going to come in shoes that have a slick bottom, like these, walking sneakers that have no tread at all. You're just really doing yourself a disservice. So I'm not saying you're going to have an accident, but you're just creating a situation where it's going to be really slippery, especially if you want to do a trail that has any uneven terrain. I know a lot of people don't like to bring hiking sticks or don't have them, but it can really save you if you're planning to do real hiking trails. I was in wet weather this week a lot on the mountain, and the amount of times that I kind of slipped in the mud and my stick saved me, it was like so many times, like dozens of times. So it's not necessary, but there's some things that are really going to help you have a better time on the mountain. And I know if you have a small bag, you're really careful about what you choose. And maybe you're only planning on doing 1 or 2 hikes in Switzerland, so you don't want to commit a whole bag to 1 or 2 hikes. But maybe either bring those things or choose hikes that aren't really going to require them, because I just don't want you to be in a situation where, you're going to have an accident.
Amazing. Well, Tanya, I could definitely talk to you about this for hours. The amount of knowledge you can just roll off the top of your head is pretty incredible. Just to finish up, I thought I might ask the platform, you personally, where do you hope it goes the next few years? Do you have any ideas, or it's just one day at a time?
I'm thinking about all the time. I'm trying to figure out what the right future is for Swiss Family Fun. I think I really want it to always live on. I don't know what it exactly looks like. I think personally, I would like to have more passive income, so I have a better balance of my personal life to my work life. But I'm not sure how that really works with what AI is doing in terms of cannibalizing all the content. So I think that it feels like the real value going forward in a world where AI can give us any answer that we want is having trust in real people and having relationships when I think about the information that I really trust, it comes from people that I trust, people that I've been following, people that have shown me over time that I can trust what they tell me. And I think that I've built that trust over a long period of time with a lot of people, and I hope to continue to do that. And so I'm looking at ways that I can continue to have kind of a personal relationship with people that still has balance for me. That's why I think that although I would like to have more passive income, it's really these travel consults that I do where I see I'm adding so much value to people's trips, and I'm trying to figure out how to scale that so I can have a business going forward. It's really this hand holding. When I talk to people, usually at the end of the call I have with them, that it's just like I've talked them off the edge. They're like, I didn't know it was going to happen on my trip, and I was just so stressed, and now I feel calm and everything's going to work out. And that's what I feel like I do in my written content, like in all of my content. That's kind of my goal, is to take you from chaos to calm. And I'm trying to figure out the right ways that I can continue to do that as technology changes, as platforms change. And yeah, I'm always listening to my audience as well. So they'll tell me what they need, and hopefully I'll be in the right position to provide it.
Well, you've come this far and you've done so much. So I have faith that you'll figure it out.
Thank you.
Tanya, thank you very much for your time. This has been a very great conversation.
All right. Thank you. It's been fun.
Bye-bye. Thanks for listening. If you did enjoy the episode and you want to support me, it would mean a lot if you could rate the episode and follow the podcast on your favorite platform. It really helps the show grow and reach more people. I'll see you in the next episode.